was all set. A consensus had been reached. The Baltimore Ravens, were planning to select Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round with the 141st overall selection. But when he found out, he got word back to the Ravens that he preferred not to go to a place where he would be competing and backing up Lamar Jackson. He wanted to be in a place that he could play. And so when the Ravens got that message, they pivoted, went a different direction with the 141st overall selection. And 3 picks later, the Cleveland Browns selected Shedeur Sanders, who will be in Baltimore today, where he could have been spending his NFL career if he were willing to back up Lamar Jackson. Preferred not to do that. And so Shedeur Sanders will make that trip to Baltimore today. Could have been a Raven, but he's a Brown, 3rd string on the depth chart, Randy.
And here we go. A bombshell revelation straight out of the NFL countdown set. Adam Schefter uncovers the kind of behind-the-scenes story that rewrites everything we thought we knew about the draft. Imagine this. The Baltimore Ravens, one of the most respected, stable organizations in football, had Shedeur Sanders in their sights. The 5th round, the 141st pick, a moment where a young quarterback's life could change forever. The Ravens had decided he was their guy. But just as quickly as the plan came together, it fell apart. Because Shedeur Sanders himself didn't want to go there. He didn't want to stand in Lamar Jackson's shadow. He wanted to play. Right away. Now let that sink in for a second. A rookie quarterback, not just turning down a spot in the NFL, but telling the Baltimore Ravens, "No thanks, I'll pass." That's not just confidence, that's a statement. That's a shot fired across the league. But here's the twist. Instead of Baltimore, 3 picks later, it was the Cleveland Browns who stepped in. They grabbed Shedeur Sanders at 144, and just like that, his career path took a completely different turn. Today, as fate would have it, Sanders is walking into Baltimore, not as a Raven, but as a Cleveland Brown. And you can't help but ask, was this move bold, or was it reckless? Because in the NFL, sometimes the decisions you make before you ever throw a pass define your entire legacy. Teddy Bruschi weighed in immediately, and his words were simple, direct, and kind of hard to ignore. He said, "You want to go somewhere where you can compete to be a starter." And really, isn't that what every player dreams of? Not just to make the team, not just to be a name on the roster, but to walk into the locker room knowing there's a chance, however small, to win the job. For Shedeur, being behind Lamar Jackson wasn't that chance. Lamar isn't just a quarterback, he's the quarterback, the face of the franchise for the next decade. No one's taking that job unless Jackson goes down. So, from Shedeur's point of view, it makes sense. Why waste years holding a clipboard when you can fight for a real shot somewhere else? But then comes the counterargument. Randy Scott pointed out what everyone's thinking. Is this smart, or is it insane? Because here's the reality, when you're a 5th round pick, you don't exactly get to pick and choose your destiny. You're supposed to be grateful just for the chance. And yet, Shedeur decided otherwise. This isn't just about a player turning down a team. This is about a rookie quarterback rewriting the rules of how much power a draft pick really has. And that's where the controversy truly begins. Think about the Ravens for a second. This is a franchise known for stability, known for structure, known for developing talent. They've done it with Joe Flacco, with Lamar Jackson, and plenty of other players along the way. To pass on Baltimore, an organization with proven success at grooming quarterbacks, and instead walk into the chaos of Cleveland? That's the part that has analysts calling this move incredibly short-sighted. Because let's be honest, the Browns are the opposite of stable. They've churned through quarterbacks like an assembly line. Over the last 20 years, it feels like every season starts with a new franchise guy who barely makes it through the year. Baker Mayfield, Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Watson's drama. The list goes on and on. You name it, Cleveland's been there. So for Shedeur to say, "That's where I want to go, because I want a chance to start right away," it raises a real question. Is this ambition, or is it naivety? Do you think Shedeur made the right call by choosing the chance to play immediately in Cleveland over sitting and learning behind Lamar Jackson in Baltimore? Here's where the story gets even juicier. Analysts on set split right down the middle. On one hand, you've got people saying, "This is crazy. He's a 5th round pick, not a 1st rounder. You don't get to dictate terms." You should have taken the Ravens' stability and trusted the process. On the other hand, there's this undeniable truth. Shedeur Sanders doesn't see himself as just a fifth-round pick. He doesn't see himself as a backup. He came into the draft thinking he could be the first overall pick. That confidence, that belief, it's not just arrogance. It's the same drive that makes great players great.
Yeah, you want to go somewhere where you compete to be a starter. That's me. I mean, I don't play quarterback, but I hear that. Listen, I just want to go to any team where I can compete being behind Lamar Jackson, or I just want to be a starter. Where can I compete to be a starter? I think that's what Shedeur was thinking there.
Does it make sense to you, Randy, for him to say, Lamar's there, he's going to be there for a decade, it's now a place I'm going to get a chance to play? Do you think it's a sensible choice?
Let me piggyback off of Teddy. You talk about Lamar Jackson's going to be probably retired with this organization. So if the backup does get in, he's in for garbage time. So I can see why Shedeur Sanders made that decision. I want to go compete for a job and get out there and play as a rookie.
I think this is insane, right? Like, if this is true, I think this is crazy, right? At this point, you're in the fifth round. I understand you had higher hopes, but you've dropped to the fifth round, and you're thinking about being a starting quarterback the next year. I think this is incredibly short-sighted. Like, if you're in this situation, you want to go to an organization that is going to develop you, right? Here you have the Baltimore Ravens, the model of stability in the NFL. This regime's been together for how many decades now? And actually has a track record to develop quarterbacks. Joe Flacco, Lamar, right? Instead, you choose the Cleveland Browns because you think you have a chance to start the next year.
Ravens was bold ambition or naive short-sightedness, pointing out the difference between Baltimore's stability and Cleveland's instability. And maybe that's the heart of this controversy. Shedeur Sanders refuses to see himself as a developmental project. He refuses to see himself as just another name on the depth chart. In his mind, he's not supposed to wait his turn, he's supposed to take it. And love him or hate him, you've got to admit, there's something electric about a rookie walking into the league already betting on himself against the odds. Let's break it down even further. In Baltimore, Shedeur would have signed a 3-year rookie deal. But what would that have really meant? 3 years of preseason games, 3 years of limited reps, and 3 years of hoping for a miracle moment where Lamar goes down just long enough for Shedeur to flash his skills. That's the cold truth of life as a backup quarterback to a superstar. In Cleveland, though, the door's open. Deshaun Watson's situation is messy. The Browns' quarterback carousel has never stopped spinning. By the end of this year, it's entirely possible, maybe even likely, that Shedeur sees the field. That's what the analysts said, and that's why this story has people so divided. If you were Shedeur, would you rather sit behind Lamar Jackson for 3 years in Baltimore, or roll the dice in Cleveland knowing you might be starting by the end of your rookie season? And this is where I want you to think about the bigger picture. For decades, quarterbacks have been told to wait their turn, to sit, to learn, to hold the clipboard until it's finally their time. That's the traditional path. But Shedeur Sanders isn't interested in tradition. He's interested in opportunity. He's interested in playing football now. And that mentality, it might just reshape the way we view the quarterback position in the modern NFL. Because sometimes, chasing greatness means breaking away from the safe choice and daring to make the controversial one. So now, let's zoom in on what the panel really meant when they called this decision short-sighted. The idea isn't just about Cleveland's chaos versus Baltimore's order. It's about what every quarterback really needs to succeed: time. Time to develop. Time to adapt to the speed of the NFL. Time to make mistakes without the world watching. And Baltimore would have given Shedeur that. The Ravens are one of those rare organizations that build quarterbacks the right way. Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson. They've shown the patience, the infrastructure, the coaching. If Shedeur had been willing to sit and learn, maybe his long-term ceiling would have been even higher. But Cleveland? The Browns don't exactly have a track record of patience. They throw guys into the fire. They throw them to the wolves and hope someone survives. So, when analysts say Shedeur might be hurting himself in the long run, that's where they're coming from. They're worried about bad film. They're worried about ruined confidence. They're worried about the Browns doing what the Browns have done for decades, mishandling quarterbacks. Because let's be real, sometimes it's not about the quarterback failing. Sometimes it's about the franchise failing the quarterback. And yet, this is where Shedeur's mindset sets him apart. To him, it's not about waiting. It's not about risk. It's about proving right now that he belongs. Remember, this is a guy who grew up under the spotlight, the son of Deion Sanders, raised with the mentality of prime time. He doesn't want to sit quietly in the background. He wants to shine, to lead, to step on the field and make the game his own. And you know what? That confidence, that hunger, it's infectious. It's why the Browns felt like they couldn't pass him up when he was still there in the 5th round. And it's why, even though critics are tearing apart this decision, there's still a chance Shedeur proves them all wrong. Do you believe Shedeur Sanders has the talent and confidence to overcome Cleveland's chaos? Or will the Browns' instability drag him down like so many others before him? Here's another angle to this. Think about Lamar Jackson. If Shedeur had gone to Baltimore, he'd be learning behind one of the most dynamic quarterbacks the NFL has ever seen. That's an education money can't buy. But let's be honest, no matter how much Shedeur learned, it still would have been Lamar's show. No real game reps, no spotlight, no real chance to prove himself for years. In Cleveland, the situation's different. It's shaky, it's uncertain, but uncertainty creates opportunity. Deshaun Watson's situation could blow up at any moment. Injuries, controversy, bad performances, anything can open the door. And when that door opens, Shedeur will be ready to run through it. That's what he's betting on. He's betting on chaos. And sometimes, the players who make history are the ones bold enough to gamble everything on themselves. Now, one of the most heated parts of the countdown debate was when they asked, what's better for a young quarterback, development or opportunity? Should a rookie embrace sitting, or should he fight to play immediately? Some analysts argued there's no better classroom than the NFL sideline. Others countered that you can't learn until you're actually on the field, taking hits, reading defenses in real time. And here's the crazy part, both sides are right. Quarterback is the most unique position in all of sports. It's not like wide receiver or linebacker. You can't just rotate in for a few plays and prove yourself. You're either the starter or you're not. You're either running the offense or you're holding the clipboard. That's why Shedeur's choice matters so much. Because this isn't just about Cleveland or Baltimore. It's about how quarterbacks define their own path in a league that usually decides it for them. If you were an NFL rookie quarterback, would you choose to sit behind greatness or throw yourself into the fire for the chance to prove you belong? And let's not forget the timeline here. This isn't some 10-year contract. Shedeur's a 5th rounder, which means a 3-year deal. That's not much time. 3 years to prove yourself. 3 years to go from draft pick to starter, or risk becoming just another name that faded into obscurity. From that perspective, his decision makes more sense. If he only has 3 years, why waste them holding a clipboard? Why not swing for the fences in Cleveland, where the starting job could realistically be his within that window? Because in the NFL, time isn't guaranteed. Every snap, every season, every contract, it all runs out faster than you think. But let's circle back to the panel's warning. Bad film kills careers. That's the dark side of this gamble. If Shedeur starts too soon, if he struggles, if he throws picks and racks up losses on a broken team, that tape will follow him forever. Scouts, coaches, executives, they'll all see it. And in this league, reputations are hard to shake. Just ask Josh Rosen. Ask Johnny Manziel. Ask the countless quarterbacks who never recovered from being thrown into the fire too soon. So here we are. On one side, stability, patience, and the Ravens' proven system. On the other, chaos, opportunity, and the Browns' revolving door of quarterbacks. Shedeur Sanders looked at both doors and chose the one marked risk. Do you think this risk will define Shedeur Sanders as the next breakout quarterback or the next cautionary tale? And here's the kicker, nobody really knows the answer yet. That's what makes this story so electric. It's not just about what Shedeur did on draft weekend. It's about what happens next. Will he rise above the noise and prove the critics wrong? Or will this decision be remembered as the moment he set himself up to fail? Because sometimes, the boldest moves in the NFL either make legends, or they make headlines for all the wrong reasons. As we close this out, let's not lose sight of the bigger truth. Shedeur Sanders didn't want to wait. He didn't want to sit. He wanted to play. And in a league that chews up and spits out quarterbacks, That might be the bravest thing a rookie can do. So, to all of you watching, what do you think? Was Shedeur right to reject the Ravens and chase the chance to start in Cleveland? Or was this one of the most short-sighted decisions we've ever seen from a rookie quarterback? And that's where we'll leave it for now. The debate isn't going anywhere. Every snap Shedeur takes in Cleveland will add fuel to the fire. Every pass, every mistake, every highlight, it'll all trace back to this one decision on draft weekend. The decision to say no to Baltimore and yes to Cleveland. This is Gridiron Insights, your home for the most dramatic, controversial, and in-depth stories in the NFL. If you love this breakdown and want more hard-hitting takes on Shedeur Sanders and the biggest controversies in football, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We'll be here every week, diving deep into the stories that shake the league. Until next time, stay tuned, stay sharp, and keep your eyes on the gridiron.